Did you ever think what you'd do if you had a heart attack alone? With just seconds to react and no one there? That split second can change everything. This video was made with care and urgency for older adults who live alone. Or know someone who does. Because here's the truth. When a heart attack strikes, every second matters, and if no one's around to help, what you do next could mean the difference between life and death. Now don't worry, we're not here to scare you. We're here to empower you. To give you 5 clear life-saving actions that can keep you alive. Even if help is 10 minutes away, you might be surprised how simple some of them are. You don't need to be strong, fast, or trained like a paramedic. You just need to know what to do and act fast. If you're between 65 and 80 living independently, or even just home alone from time to time, this information could be one of the most important things you hear this year. It's not about panic, it's about preparation, and it's about taking control when it feels like you have none. Stick with me to the end, because the last point is something almost no one talks about, but it just might be the one that gives you those extra precious minutes. 1. Recognizing the first signal. A heart attack rarely announces itself with a dramatic scene, like you see in the movies. For most older adults, the first sign is quiet, even confusing. It may start with a sense of pressure in the chest. Not sharp pain, but a heavy squeezing discomfort that you might mistake for indigestion. That's the body's alarm bell. And ignoring it is the most dangerous thing you can do. Why do so many seniors dismiss this signal? One reason is familiarity. As we age, we get used to various aches and twinges. So when our chest feels tight or our arms go numb, we brush it off as arthritis or a pulled muscle. But those could be early signs that your heart isn't getting enough oxygen. The body is trying to warn you. Another reason is denial. No one wants to admit they might be in serious trouble. Especially when they're alone. It's tempting to lie down and hope it passes. But that's the worst choice you can make. Because if your heart is under stress, lying flat reduces circulation and increases the strain. In fact, it's during those first few minutes that damage starts building and time is your enemy. So what should you do as soon as you feel that unusual pressure? Shortness of breath, cold sweat, or nausea? Treat it like an emergency. Sit down, stay calm, and start taking slow, steady breaths. Keeping your mind clear and your breathing steady helps slow your heart rate. Buying you precious time. Your body wants to panic, but you must not. Many seniors make the wrong choice by waiting too long before acting. I remember a man named George, 74 years old, who felt pain in his jaw and fatigue one afternoon. He thought he'd just take a nap and feel better. But that nap nearly cost him his life. Fortunately, his neighbor checked in on him 2 hours later and got him help just in time. He survived, but with more damage than he would have had if he'd acted right away. That's the key takeaway here. The first signal might be subtle, but it's not to be ignored. When in doubt, assume it's serious. You can always be wrong in the safe direction. You cannot afford to wait and see. Recognizing and responding to that first sign gives you a fighting chance. And maybe the very thing that keeps you alive long enough to take the next steps we will cover. 2. Coughing to keep blood flowing. It might sound strange, even a bit silly, but coughing, yes, coughing, can help you stay alive if you're having a heart attack and you're all alone. But we're not talking about a light, polite cough here. We're talking about deep, repeated, forceful coughing, the kind that shakes your chest. Here's why that matters. When a heart attack strikes, your heart's rhythm may become unstable. It might start beating too fast, too slow, or even stop for a moment. That instability is what causes many people to collapse in those critical early seconds. But when you cough hard and deep every few seconds, you're doing something very powerful. You're forcing your chest muscles to contract, which helps push blood through your heart into your brain. It's like giving your heart a manual assist until you can get proper help. Now, this isn't a cure. It's not going to stop the heart attack, but it might keep you conscious just long enough to call for help or to get somewhere safe. That window of time, those 10, 20, 30 seconds can make the difference between collapsing alone and surviving until help arrives. I remember reading a story about a 68-year-old woman named Linda. She lived alone, and one night she felt dizzy and started sweating heavily. She remembered something she'd heard in a senior health class: if you feel faint and suspect a heart attack, cough hard. So she did. Between each breath, she forced out a strong cough over and over, and it kept her alert just long enough to dial 911 and unlock her front door. The paramedics said later that her quick thinking likely saved her life. Why does this work? Well, coughing helps maintain circulation and oxygen supply, even if your heart is fluttering. It's especially helpful if you start to feel faint and can't get up. Think of it as your body's emergency backup pump. It's not a substitute for medical care, but it can be your bridge to survival. But here's the catch: most people have never heard of this. And even if they have, they forget it in the moment because panic takes over. That's why it's so important to remember now. To mentally rehearse it. To know that if you feel faint or your chest tightens suddenly, you have one tool you can use instantly. Start coughing, deep, steady, forceful coughs, like you're trying to clear something big from your lungs, and do it until you can call for help. Get someone's attention, or start breathing better. If you're alone, you don't have time to hesitate. You need every second you can buy. 3. Unlocking doors for emergency access. One of the most overlooked but critical steps when you're alone and suspect you're having a heart attack is this: unlock your front door. It might not seem urgent in the moment, especially when you're trying to focus on your breathing or dialing for help. But it can be the one thing that actually saves your life when seconds matter. Here's why. When paramedics arrive and find your door locked, they have two options: either wait for backup to break in or try to force it themselves. Both waste precious time, and if you're unconscious or unable to speak by the time they arrive, they can't get to you without causing a delay. That delay, even if it's just 2 or 3 minutes, could be the difference between revival and tragedy. I once heard about a man named David, 72 years old, who lived in a quiet neighborhood in Oregon. One morning while making coffee, he felt intense pressure in his chest. He knew the signs. His brother had survived a heart attack just a year before. David called 911 immediately. But before he collapsed, he had the presence of mind to shuffle to the front door and unlock it. That one simple action allowed the paramedics to reach him without delay. They later told him that unlocked door probably gave you another shot at life. David still shares that story at his local senior center. He reminds everyone, if you feel something wrong, call for help, but also open the door. The problem is when you're in distress, your thinking narrows, your brain is screaming for oxygen, and your instincts go into survival mode. The last thing you're likely to think about is your door. That's why you need to make this a part of your mental checklist. Just like dialing 911 or taking aspirin, if you feel a heart attack coming on, call for help, cough if you need to, and unlock the door. Even better, you can prepare now. Keep a spare key in a lockbox outside and give the code to a trusted neighbor or family member. Or if you have a smart lock, make sure someone else can open it remotely. Preparation isn't paranoia, it's wisdom, especially if you live alone. 4. Chewing aspirin to thin the blood. If you ever feel chest pain and suspect you're having a heart attack, one small action that could make a massive difference is to chew an aspirin immediately. Not swallow, not sip with water, but chew. Why does this matter so much? During a heart attack, your blood flow to the heart is being blocked, often by a clot. Chewing an aspirin helps slow the clotting and allows your blood to keep moving, giving you a fighting chance until emergency help arrives. The key word here is chewing. When you chew it, the aspirin gets into your bloodstream faster than if you simply swallow it whole. It can start thinning your blood in as little as 5 minutes. Now, a lot of people have aspirin in their home, but the mistake they make is forgetting where they put it or not knowing what kind to use. What you want is a regular non-coated aspirin. Something like a 325 milligram tablet. Not Tylenol. Not some fancy heart supplement. Just plain aspirin. And it shouldn't be tucked away in the back of the cabinet. Keep it where you can reach it quickly. Better yet, keep one in your wallet, your nightstand, or even taped under your kitchen table. It might sound extreme, but if you're alone and those seconds count, you don't want to go hunting through drawers while your heart struggles. I remember a story about a woman named Ellen. She was 76 and lived by herself. One morning, she woke up feeling heavy in her chest. She didn't panic. She called 911. And then she remembered the tip from her doctor: chewing aspirin. She kept one in a small pouch on her fridge just for this reason. By the time the ambulance arrived, her symptoms hadn't gotten worse, and the hospital confirmed that early aspirin likely prevented major damage. She was home 2 days later, walking, smiling, and back to gardening. You see, it's easy to dismiss something as simple as aspirin. We think of it as old-fashioned or too basic to matter. But in a crisis, simple often saves. You don't need fancy tools or medical knowledge. Just presence of mind and preparation. And if you're on daily aspirin already, still keep a dose handy. Sometimes, people assume their daily dose is enough. But during an active heart attack, that emergency chewable dose can still provide added protection. Now, I know some folks are allergic or have been advised not to take aspirin. So in those cases, follow your doctor's guidance. But if you've been told it's safe, keeping one nearby could be the best 5-cent investment you ever make. 5. Loosening tight clothing to relieve pressure. When you're alone and feel the signs of a heart attack coming on, tightness in the chest, shortness of breath, a heavy pressure, you might think your next move should be something grand or dramatic. But one of the simplest yet most overlooked actions you can take is to loosen your clothing. It might sound too basic to matter, but the truth is when your body's in distress, even the smallest pressure around your neck, chest, or waist can make things worse. Tight collars, snug belts, or restrictive waistbands can compress your breathing, reduce oxygen flow, and increase anxiety. And if you're having a heart attack, you need all the oxygen and blood circulation your body can get. Start by unbuttoning your shirt collar, loosening any tie if you're wearing one, or even opening the top buttons of your blouse or polo. If you're wearing a belt, loosen it or take it off entirely. If you're sitting in a chair or recliner, shift your position to one that opens your chest and lungs more freely. Allow your body to relax physically and mentally. The more tension you release from your clothing and posture, the better your body can manage the stress it's under. Let me tell you about Roy, an 81-year-old retired veteran from Arizona. One evening while watching the news alone, he felt that unmistakable pressure in his chest and started sweating heavily. He immediately dialed 911. Then remembered something his cardiac rehab nurse told him after his bypass surgery: loosen everything. He kicked off his shoes, unfastened his belt, opened his shirt, and sat upright with his arms resting gently at his sides. He later said it felt like his breathing improved instantly. When the EMTs arrived, his oxygen levels were stable and he was calm and responsive. That calmness helped the paramedics work more quickly and effectively. Roy said it felt like buying time was something as simple as undoing a buckle. This isn't just about comfort. It's about helping your lungs expand and your blood circulate. When you're panicked and constricted, you breathe shallowly, which can further strain your heart. But when you release physical tension, your body can respond more naturally to the crisis. It also helps reduce panic. And in a moment like that, staying calm is half the battle. Many people underestimate this because it doesn't involve a device or a pill. But that's the beauty of it. It's a strategy that costs nothing, takes seconds, and can buy you precious minutes when every second matters. Final thoughts. You've made it to the end, and that tells me something very important. You're someone who takes your health seriously. Someone who understands that getting older doesn't mean giving up your power, but rather learning new ways to protect it. Being alone during a heart attack is one of the scariest things anyone can face. But now you're not just sitting with that fear. You've got tools. Real practical actions you can take within the first 10 seconds to increase your chances of survival. From staying calm to calling for help, coughing correctly, taking aspirin, loosening tight clothing, and preparing your environment ahead of time. You now know what to do. And more importantly, you know why you need to do it. That kind of knowledge doesn't just save lives. It empowers you. It tells your heart, your mind, and your spirit that you're not helpless. And don't underestimate how much your actions can inspire others. If you have a friend, a spouse, or a neighbor who lives alone, pass this video along. You could be giving them a gift they'll never forget. Just imagine how many people would sleep better tonight if they knew these 5 things. You've got the chance to be the one who shares that peace. Let this be a reminder that every moment counts. Not just in crisis, but in daily life. Take care of your heart. Not just when something goes wrong, but before it ever gets to that point. Eat well. Move your body. Surround yourself with people who make you feel alive. And when you're alone, don't let fear take over. Let wisdom step in. You've lived long enough to trust your instincts. Now you've got the information to back them up. You've come this far because you want to live well, not just live long. That's a powerful decision, so hold on to it. Review this video again if you need to. Practice the steps. Talk about them with loved ones. Stick them to your fridge if you have to. Because one day, hopefully far from now, these few seconds of knowledge might just give you years more to enjoy.